The reception for Kafka since release has been overwhelmingly positive, and I think we can all agree that it's no surprise. Kafka is a very well enjoyed character amongst the general audience of Honkai Star Rail, and she is a character that has a lot of potential to grow within the future of the game. As you all know, damage over time is a very special mechanic in Honkai Star Rail. Contrary to most turn based games you've played, the dots in this game can't ignore the enemy's defense, and the only one that does a percentage of the enemy's HP is the bleed dot, which is a dot that we don't have access to aside from Luca. But in the recent week, we've seen that you don't have to use Luca to get value out of Kafka, because she's a very self-sufficient character. So I have Luca who hasn't even been built, because I haven't had a need for the character. The truth is, Luca isn't a bad character, he's great. He works even better in the team of Kafka because Kafka buffs his dots and she detonates the dots for him, thus allowing the character to do damage without having to take the turn. You're looking to get in those basic attacks, use your enhanced basic attack, and also you want to get your ultimate, all of which you can do without using your elemental skill. And just like the rest of the Nihility characters, he has access to some of the best Lycoons in the game. You have a Lycoon here that is able to lower the defenses of the enemy, all of which you can do without having a character like Silverwolf or Pela into the party. So you have for what is a very flexible character, you have a character that is able to apply a bleed dot on an enemy, which does a percentage of the enemy's HP, on top of being able to lower the defenses of the enemy, all of which you can do, as I said before, without Silverwolf or Pela. All of this ties back to Kafka because Kafka enhances the performance of the dot characters in the team. She also takes advantage of all of the amplification she gets from the other characters. A character like Luca applying his own dot, I almost called him Lucas for some reason, applying his own dots to the enemy while also potentially lowering the defense of the enemy if you have access to the light code with him on the cover of it, of course, then you're able to get more value with a character like Kafka because the defenses will be lowered of the enemy. You cannot ignore the defenses of the enemy with damage over time. In a recent video, we talked about how flexible Kafka really is, and being able to utilize a team with Himiko and Asta in the same party with Kafka lets you know that Kafka is a character that you can use virtually anyone you want in the game as long as they have some type of synergy with Kafka. The reason why this synergy works well is because a character like Asta is able to buff not only Kafka but Himiko as well, while buffing most of Himiko's kit. A speed buff for the whole team is very valuable because more speed means Kafka can A, proc the dots much more often, and B, you're able to put the dots on the enemy more consistently because you will take more turns, all of which can help out a character on your team that doesn't have very much effect hit rate. Asta also being able to apply her own dot to the enemy, which lasts for 3 turns. That's pretty good. And for a character that is buffing her everyone's attack, including her own, and having fire damage bonus amplifications in her kit, you will get a lot of value out of the dot she has on her basic attack. And then you have a fire damage bonus that Asta applies to all allies on the field, which helps a character like Asta and Himiko because, as you all know, damage over time scales primarily off of your total attack, and your total elemental damage bonuses. We have Harmony Lightcoons that we haven't been able to utilize as well recently. Now we have a Lightcone that works really well in the team comp with Kafka. If you have this Lightcone, you can either use this Lightcone on your Asta with Himiko to do more damage with her dots and more fire damage overall, or you could have this Lightcone on your Ting Yun, who also works really well with Kafka as a general buffer and a energy restoration character for your Kafka. There is also a very nice composition you can use for the Mono Lightning, which works very well with Silverwolf because Silverwolf is the character that weakness implants the enemy with the lightning weakness, allowing your Kafka or anyone else on the team to proc that weakness break lightning dot. And on top of that, Silverwolf is a very good general debuffer to have in a team comp with Kafka or anyone that is a character that applies dots. Silverwolf also is able to lower the resistances of the enemy, which again boosts your dot damage even more. So it already solidifies what I previously said, thus making her the best character you can use as an offensive debuffer with Kafka. It also works into the favor of Kafka because Silverwolf is a very skill point positive character, all of which helps a character like Kafka who is very skill point hungry And the funny part is, the four-piece quantum set is actually broken. It's so broken that you can use it on your Kafka to ignore the enemy's defense with A, your dot damage, and B, the damage Kafka does with her skills and burst. So you can see I have the four-piece quantum on my Kafka because it works well with Silverwolf. Because Silverwolf will always be the quantum character in the team. So even if you put quantum weaknesses on the enemy, you're still able to ignore the defenses with Kafka, which is really, really strong. So, of course, in the Mono Lightning team, you want a character like Bailu, who is going to be the character that is the defensive option. If you don't have Bailu, then it's really hard to make the Mono Lightning team work. That is until we get a character in the future that is a defensive option like Bailu, but of the Lightning element. Or Quantum, that is, because Quantum will help with the team because it's still a 50% chance of putting either or Quantum or Lightning weaknesses on the enemy. So either or is fine. And with more characters on the way, there is plenty of opportunities to take advantage of Kafka's kit. She is a team buffer, but also a very self sufficient damage dealer. She is pretty much what you want to make out of her. I know it sounds a little weird, but you can essentially use her how you see fit. If you want her to be a nice character to use alongside your damage over time, sub DPS like characters like Luca and Sampo, then you can use Kafka for that option. If you want to use her as a self sufficient hyper carry damage dealer, then you can. Well, I say self sufficient hyper carry damage dealer. That makes no sense because hyper carry damage dealer is not self sufficient. A hyper carry damage dealer that you can use alongside a character like Bronya and Silverwolf, whom which work really well with a character like Kafka. Or you can use a character like Kafka essentially as a character like you use Seal. You can give her a ton of crit rate and crit damage if you wanted, and it works fine. It may not be as good as it would be if you just gave her attack and affect her rate when you needed it and speed to increase the dot damage and have her take more turns, but it still gets the job done. That just only lets you know how flexible the character is. And with that being said, the potential of this character is endless, and I can't wait for future characters to come because I already have one in mind. I think a character that is able to give break effect to Kafka would be very valuable. That teammate would be very crucial in a team comp with other dot characters because break effect is something we haven't been able to utilize well right now. The dot effects from your weakness break is the strongest dot you can have on the enemy. Any character that is able to boost the break effect of the team is going to be so strong. And I think that character will be a very maybe slight must pull to use alongside Kafka. Only time will tell what else that character does alongside providing break effect to the teammates. So there you have it. I have not had this much fun with a character since the release of Silverwolf. Now I know that's not saying much, and the honest truth is I haven't pulled for a character since Silverwolf. With that being said, Kafka is a character I think most people have also been enjoying, and she brings about a new playstyle that only makes sense given the nature of a character that is able to, as I said, bring a new playstyle. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.